Was it a good or a bad feeling?
I think it was good. It kind of made me wanna like do this all, but then again, like I said, I have two kids now and I work full time, so it's like I don't have time to just sit editing all the time, you know. Though I guess I can do it on my phone too, so that's a weird development. I still have all my tapes just over there.
Oh yes, we need to have like a mini DV tape, like all
Oh,
under the closet over there.
okay.
I just
What was
repacked.
that white contraption that created video? It was like the flip or something, and that was such a big, exciting thing. I don't remember what it was called, and now it's
Yeah, recorded on SD cards, which was like a huge deal.
Yeah, the flip was big.
Yeah, the flip phone changed the game.
I got my old HV20 out of the garage a couple weeks ago and charged it up, and my son, who's almost 6, is now using it. My, recording on the mini DV, we don't really have any way to get it off the camera. And really what he films is like, he just films cartoons that he's already watching so he can watch them again, I guess, even though it's streaming. So
it's adorable.
He loves it.
That's pretty cool.
Creepiest thing, my 7-year-old daughter, she had she makes little stories on paper, and one of the things she started doing is adding the back page is just a play button, and she writes subscribe. Like she doesn't even really watch YouTube, right? But like this is just part of like the world we live in, and like I'm like, where the heck? She's like, oh, my teacher. She shows us like videos on YouTube for science class or something. She literally draws a subscribe button.
That's adorable. Amazing.
Green.
My grandson, I have 2 grandchildren. Oldest one is 11, and he's grown up nothing but, iPads and YouTube and everything else. And he does, he wants to be like, his dream is to be a streamer. He wants to stream stuff, and it's just, you think back to all those times where it was like 320 by 140, this is way back. And just know what they're capable of doing and stuff like that. It's just absolutely amazing, but it's just hilarious to me. I mean, both of them.
Are we live now, Steve? Are you going to introduce the panel here?
Ready to go. Okay. So introducing the video blogger chat, original video bloggers. I started back in 2004 and found other video bloggers on the Yahoo video blogging group, which came a really great place for all of us to learn about how to put video online. So for me personally, at first, I was interested in all the technical things, trying to figure out what camera to use, how to compress video, where to host it, how it would cost me the least, afraid if I would get many viewers. And we had the video blogging group was just fantastic. And then as I remember back in the beginning of 2005, one of the members said they were going to New York. And then Jay was in New York, and I said, I'll go to New York too. And then everyone started popping up on the YouTube, on the video blogging group, and said, I'll go to New York too. So we said, why don't we have a meeting of everyone? And we threw together the first VloggerCon was in January of 2005. And I'll never forget the planning of that. Jay Dedman came over to the house and we met in person for the first time. And I was like, Jay, I feel like I already know you. It was like the weirdest thing. And that was the first time that we realized the power of video, because in testing all these cameras and recording and compressing and stuff, what we were doing was we were all watching everybody else's video. And then that really made me realize the power of video. And then we went on and had another VloggerCon in San Francisco in 2006. And now it's 14, 15 years later. So Adam mentioned on Facebook this week, it would be fun to get everybody together. And I'd been experimenting with Zoom. So I agreed to throw this thing together. So Adam, what were your thoughts on why you wanted to get everyone together at this time?
Where are they now?
Yeah.
At home.
I've been, you know, if I've remained connected to a lot of people that I originally connected with via the Yahoo video blogging group. In fact, I would say, you know, my best friend is Eric Nelson, who we see each other maybe once every 2 years, but, you know, he lives in Vermont, and we've kind of watched each other's children grow up. And anyway, it's you know, one of the defining experiences of my life was joining that group and becoming part of this community. And you know, just personally, I was saying earlier, I've had a crazy month, and I think everyone can say the same. And I just felt that it was, you know, some gut feeling told me it would be great to see all these people again, to reconnect with you folks, because yeah, you all had such a powerful impact on my life. I thought that when Steve was mentioning the Yahoo, the meetup in New York, I thought he was going to talk about VloggerQ. And my favorite part of that was when Steve knocked at my door, he said, "Hi, I'm Steve Garfield from stevegarfield.com." And it was the best. It was like the best thing ever. And we hugged, and, you know, we'd never met each other in person, but that's what he always used to start his videos with. And then you open the door and he says it. It's that was an amazing moment.
I'm curious, like, for other people who are filming in 2003, 2004, like how other people reacted when you're walking around. For me, I was walking around with like a GL1. So it's like this giant beast of a camera. Like, I'm curious how people would just react to you in a time where people were scared to put their credit card online. Here we are, like, filming our lives. Like, what were the reactions you would all get?
I mean, I'll say for me, I had a small camera, and I don't think people expected it to be online when I was filming. I mean, I would walk around in New York and shoot stuff, and people were used to, you know, film crews around. So for me, I don't think it was a big deal.
I will say, I started carrying around a camera around 1994 when I was teaching German over TV. And I did this trip out to the West Coast, and I brought this camera along, and I documented like the whole trip and made all these videos for my German class. And actually LA was one of the places where I got some of the most pushback, because I had like one guy on down at the what's that beach, Venice Beach, who was like, "Get your camera out of my face," you know, and it was all kind of aggressive and everything. And it was kind of weird that I got such pushback there. But yeah, it was interesting carrying around a camera and, you know, documenting things back in the early mid 90s too. And now I'm in Baltimore. Where are you all at?
Yours. You know, it's funny. I didn't start till 2006, but we did we filmed people in the streets of New York City, and I got releases for everybody. I still have all the releases for everybody because back then you thought you needed them. It's just funny now.
Sorry, I'm just going to say hi. I'm Trina. I was kind of a little bit late to video blogging, but somebody's printing next to me. But I've written a book about it, and I just saw that Rupert popped up. And if anyone can tell you about what it's like to walk around the streets with a camera and people looking at you funny, I think he's the perfect person to ask. Do you want to say something, Rupert?
Hello. Nice to see everybody. How you doing?
Hey.
Look, Trina, your book.
Sorry, unmuting. That's really cool. Thank you.
Good, your book and PhD.
Yeah, it took a long time.
Trina, just a question, Trina. How was the book received? It's like academically.
Well, it takes a long time in academia for stuff like that to go through. Sorry, that's my son waving at you from the back. Some of you might remember him from videos a long time ago. It's been well received. I was actually invited to give a talk in Transmediale in Berlin in January this year. I couldn't go because I recently had a kidney transplant, but there was a lot of people in the audience there, so I did it via Jitsi instead. And there was a lot of people who were super excited about it and thought it was really interesting. So I think it's quite nice that it's becoming part of the kind of internet history, because I think video blogging is one of these things that haven't really been talked about. People jump straight to YouTube, and YouTube's got a lot of attention, and rightly so, but also I think this kind of thing that was happening with us or with you guys was perhaps more interesting because it wasn't fueled by that kind of corporate machine that YouTube represents.
Yeah, that really, I mean, I just think I would tell people my version of like, you know, being an old man who walk uphill both ways in the snow. I'd be like, if we had a popular video, we'd get a bill in the mail, not a check. You know, it's just, oh, there's so many things I say now, having done this for 20 years, where I just feel, I feel so old. I feel so goddamn old. Like, let me tell you about mini DV tapes, and let me tell you about server costs. And I found this, so when I was in high school, I found a service that where I would have unlimited bandwidth. I don't know how it existed. It was like $100 a year. So that like transformed my whole attitude of like, I can make a viral video and it's not gonna like destroy the $162 rent I pay in Wisconsin every month, you know, that kind of thing. So it's always finding those little things early on that help like transform your creative career. But it was so different, and YouTube did change everything. And now I think kids want to be video bloggers and like video gamers instead of more than they want to be rock stars. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, they're the new rock stars. You know, Chad Hurley was an early member of the video blogging group, founded YouTube. The founder of YouTube was a member of that Yahoo group at some point.
It's a funny little anecdote about that, actually. Sorry, because he came in and everyone was like in the video blogging community because of everything that was wrong with YouTube, which is quite funny.
Oh, wow.
And then he vanished.
He was a member. I think he was a member before YouTube was founded, actually, though.
Yeah, he actually came on to announce we're launching today.
Yeah.
I was a film student in college, and this was my first camera over here, which was the Minolta XL401 Super 8 camera. And I would shoot stuff in the 70s, just going around, sort of like we did in the Videobloggers, just going around shooting stuff and editing it. Anyways.
Oh, Super 8, huh?
Yeah, I still have a bunch of Super 8. I edited and made into little films and stuff.
We shot 16 millimeter on Bolexes in film school.
Bree, when did you get started on things, Bree?
I mean, for me, there was this moment where I was trying to make art. I was trying to make it as an artist, and I made all this video art, and no galleries would represent me. So I was like, fuck it, I'm putting it on the internet. And I put it up on the archive, and then before getting a DreamHost account, which was a big deal back then. And a couple weeks later, like 30,000 people had like seen my video because I put it up on, I linked to it to a bunch of art video sites, and I was like, that's as many as will fit in Mariners Stadium. Like, this is amazing. But it really took off when I started meeting y'all. Like I went to Gnome Decks and hung out with Steve, and at the time I was making like, I don't know, $28,000 a year as a school teacher, and I just bought like the MacBook Pro, and I bought that HDR, the Sony HD video thing, and I was like, I'd spent all my money, and I'm like, I'm going to this barbecue because this is the future. There's something really special here. I know I'm onto something here. This is where all the cool kids are going to be, and it's so early and it's so exciting, and I know them kind of. And then I met you, and it turned out I did know you for the most part. And then it was just so it just felt so good to be seen. And then also to see all that sort of relationship thing, which I think is, to Adam's point earlier, like this, you don't get that as much today in this sort of like TikTok world of like, can I get as many likes as possible if somebody will do something, right? Like, yeah. So, but it was really all of you all that was like, okay, other people are doing this, and I think they're so cool. I want to be around them, and I want to be in this crew. What do I have to do?
Speaking of people's reaction, Justin, you know, maybe not to holding the camera, but I remember, So I had started in March, and Jay and Ryan invited me to stay with them so I could go to Vlogger Q, and they helped me fly out to New York. I was in college at the time, and I remember telling my mom, oh yeah, I have some friends I met on the internet who are gonna fly me out to New York. And she's like, who are these people? I'm like, oh, just I've never met them in real life. You know, but they're gonna let me sleep at their house in Harlem. So that I think I shared a bed with Chris Weekle, maybe something like that. And it was, yeah, it was crazy, like being able to like hug people that you had never met in real life. But one of the things that I found recently, so I have a fish tank now that I started in November, and I started watching videos on YouTube to learn about fish tanks. And like, I do get a sense that there are like pockets of these little communities where there is some of that same kind of like closeness. Like the aquarium YouTuber community is like so like close knit, and they go to conferences and they meet each other and they talk to each other and guest on other people's videos and stuff. So it's like, it's really weird to see it now where, you know, like you said, Justin, it's like, oh, I remember the old days. I gave up on that years ago.
Well, the whole idea of what we went through and the connection, the compulsion to meet each other and in real time is real. I transposed that over to the film television community in sound and started a weekly video conferencing group that's been going on as of February, 9 years. Every Saturday and Sunday we get together. And although we didn't have the video blogs, we did have each other's movies and television shows that we had worked on. So we knew each other's work more than we knew each other's faces, but it definitely caused us to want to be together as we were equally moved to travel around the world and be in the same space together. So it's real. It's a real thing.
Well, and I will say, like, last year I was in LA. I think Justin was actually gone, so I couldn't meet up with Justin. But I met Phil Hamilton for the first time after 15 years of watching his videos when he was in high school. Like, we had never crossed paths, but now he's working as an editor. I think Carnival Row he edited on, and some other shows. So like, he's in LA working on video stuff today, and we got to meet for the first time. It was like, still that feeling was still there of like, whoa, I can't believe this is happening.
So for you, Leo, like you say, you know, you're not doing it anymore. What was like, was there like a moment when you transitioned from being like the creator to like, now I've got to be a grown up, or like, you know, could you pinpoint that moment, or is it kind of a gradual thing kind of drifting out of the community?
Well, I actually just messaged Trina about this because in her dissertation, her book, she has like the numbers in the video blogging group, right? And how things started to kind of trail off starting around 2007 or so. That's right around the time when I got married. And I always thought that it was like, oh, you know, I'm not living by myself anymore. I'm not staying up till 3 a.m. working on videos. I just don't have the time. I have someone else in my life. So video blogging is taking a back seat. So that was part of it, but it was also just like the trend and the community was starting to go off in different directions. Around that same time, I got asked to work on Ultra Kawaii with you at Next to Networks, right? Yeah. So I did that for 2 years, and someone was actually paying me to edit videos, and they were paying New York wages for Grand Rapids work. Which was phenomenal. So I put down a down payment on our house with 2 years worth of extra income from editing cute videos. So that was like fantastic. But like I was spending all my time, you know, editing those videos and not my own personal ones. So I was making money and stuff. But so I think that was part of it. But also I was transitioning into, yeah, just full-time work, married, and my allotment of free time drastically changed.
You ran out of mini DV tapes. That was a big issue too.
You know, around that time, Twitter and Facebook and maybe Tumblr was before that, but I felt like that when those other sort of social media text and image based platforms got popular, that was the beginning of the end of the Yahoo group, really. Because like people just started, it was, I don't know, it just seemed like less
Everybody,
you had
yeah,
a different
everybody-
way to be in people's lives on a regular basis, right? Like, because people would just post, oh, I mean, back then Twitter was always just like, oh yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. So you kind of had a running roll of what was going on. Whereas we learned about that before through people's videos, like on a weekly basis or so.
Dina, what was
That's
your
the thing for me.
perspective? I'm curious, like from kind of the, you know, being an executive in those years too. Dina, like what did you kind of see in the community? Maybe your mic doesn't work.
Well, it's funny to look back on it now. By the way, hi everyone. This is insanely awesome to see everyone. So thank you. I guess did Adam inspire this and Steve put it together? I just want to say thank you. And Bree and Drew. It's just amazing to see you. My heart cup runneth over right now. It's funny, if I'm super honest with you guys, I think Mike from Blip, who you guys probably all know, was really afraid for me to meet everyone. So whenever I was meeting anyone, I was really scared that they wouldn't like me and that I wasn't cool enough and that I would say the wrong things. So I think I just was in so much fear that I was going to do something wrong. I was kind of scared of everyone. So that's my very honest, like personal take on it. And hi, Kath. Great too. But I definitely remember VloggerCon was so much more fun than I thought it would be. Like I went like this was a work thing and I want to make friends and hear and learn. But yeah, it really felt like a community. Maybe the first real community that I was ever part of. That wasn't, you know, your friends from high school or your little group from college. And everyone was so caring and nice, and it was just amazing to look back and think about what an awesome group of people that was. And then you couldn't wait to see everyone again. And people went off and did such inspiring things. I don't know, really, I tip my hat to each one of you. I feel really honored to be part of the community.
No, for me, and just like when I started about 2006, the thing that was interesting for me and most was just how helpful everyone was. Like I didn't know how to do anything, and I'd always wanted to learn how to do video. I always wanted to do that. I mean, that was a dream I had as a kid growing up, and I was like, I don't know how to do it. And I thought to myself, well, how hard can it be? It is a lot harder than we all know that, but it was just how helpful everyone was. You know, I mean, that was just new because typically it's a very hard industry. You know, a lot of stuff that has a very closed ecosystem, and video had a very closed ecosystem. And so it was refreshing to see people, to see Jay and Ryan and Steve and Rupert and just so many different people be able to just freely share their knowledge and say, here's how you do it and here's how you can do it too. I mean, I think that's what made it so special. And then that's all, I think, why people wanted to connect it in real life, because it showed, you know, before the ugliness sometimes comes with that, you know, the other side of the internet, it really showed the humanity in what was there. And that's what I really appreciated more than anything else. And I think that that's led to a lot of cool stuff. And I think
I
have this relationship.
Agree. Yeah, I really agree. And I think that the weird intimacy that we had around that time was really helped by the fact that, I mean, everybody was kind of tinkering and making it up and trying to figure it out. And Jay and Ryan and Michael's free vlog project to kind of get people going and using it. It was all part of that, you know, at some level it was quite simple, but it was also fiddling around with free things and hacking things together. And then there was this fact that nobody we knew in real life would see this stuff. And so we were just able to express ourselves completely. I mean, there were 2 points at which I stopped doing it. One was when I started getting a big bill. Somebody mentioned it earlier about getting the massive bill because somebody wrote a New York Times article and then people started coming and I thought, oh, Jesus, it's going to bankrupt me because I had to pay for for bandwidth. So I cut off the site for a year in about 2005 to 6, I think. And then later on, I suddenly started realizing that people that I worked with or, you know, would start seeing stuff. And now still I have people that I work with who find somehow embarrassing things that I made back then. And luckily they're happy about it. But I mean, I think there was a real honesty and personal connection that we could all have because it was a safe place. And YouTube never felt like that. It just felt like this kind of brutal dog eats dog kind of place where people were just mean to each other. And the video blogging community was never that. I never had one mean comment. It's amazing.
I have I completely agree with you there, Rupert, because for me, video back then was making video for 10 friends. So that was my sort of aesthetic, making video for you, Rupert, and 9 other friends. I never went for numbers because numbers, you know, I don't care about that. What I care about is that intimacy, you know, that closeness between you and me. And I guess the question I have for the room is, what did you learn from video blogging that you can use later on? Like specifically, what did you feel that, hey Josh, what did you feel that you really learned from those years being active there? I guess it's a reflection for all of us.
Before we move on to what people learned, I think it's really important to recognize with what everyone is saying that video blogging in many ways was sort of one of the last areas inside of the internet that was pre-commodification, that we were all sort of, you know, we were still relying on businesses to get our message out, hosting services, WordPress or other blogging platforms. New businesses like Blip TV came out of this, but we were not part of this commodified cycle. At this point, it's really hard to get a message out to any real audience without at some point you being part of the product in delivering that message and being attached to all this advertising. So there was that moment there that I think is important to recognize of how the internet changed, which made what we did at that time something that in many ways is happening everywhere every day, particularly in this pandemic. But there's that difference that it is unmediated, that it wasn't through this massive bureaucracy of social media giant companies that are controlling the marketing, the algorithms, and the advertising.
I'm also going to say, like, from my own personal opinion, it's such a shift from something that was truly authentic and was really about being who you are and talking to the people you care about to something that I think is entirely inauthentic, like the personal branding craze, which is, I mean, to me, Instagram is all, well, whatever. It's such a delineation, I think. And I think about, yeah, I could say more, but that's all I'll say.
I think with all the, like one of my things of my interest is the nighttime TV shows, especially with Jimmy Fallon, and, you know, it's all fake. And the thing that always bothered me on the nighttime shows is the only reason someone would get on there is that they're promoting something. You know, they're there to sell a book, they're there to sell a movie, something like that. And now that they're broadcasting from home and doing it on iPhones, and it's all back to just how we were used to do it, they're so much more real and authentic with all the fake stuff is stripped away. And that for me is really great to see. I've been watching Jimmy Fallon, you know, more than I ever have. You can see his kids and how they all are together. It's just, you know, really nice, I think.
And that's at the core of it. Like, the internet's so good at sniffing out a fake. And I think even though certainly people go in and they can have intentions of just making money, I think a lot of those people you never end up seeing, because at the end of the day, like, there is that core kernel of like someone being interesting as a person that I think is key to anyone who does succeed. And so, like you're saying, Steve, all these talk show hosts, like, we love them on their TV show, but oh my God, it's like we love them even more when we feel like we're sitting on the couch with them in their house. And I'm wondering, like, how this may change media going forward when people realize, oh, we can still make a compelling product. We don't have to throw millions of dollars behind it because it is so personality based. And I think it's interesting how the internet has like allowed us in this certain time to be used to that kind of communication from people like talk show hosts and stuff like that. So it's all pretty wild.
I feel particularly cynical about it, having spent through a weirdly circuitous rate of things, having kind of got out of filmmaking before video blogging. It pulled me back in like the mafia, and now I've spent the last 10 years, well, I'm now doing something else with video, but I spent the last 10 years in broadcasting and media companies advising them on workflows. And I think, you know, my perspective on this is that there are gatekeepers who will always drag everything back up to higher production values, because I think there's just more money in it for more people. I mean, there are the good side of that I've learned over time is there are a lot of jobs and communities that are supported by having way too many people making television shows, and that has been great. In Bristol, where I live, there's loads of people who are supported by having 10 times more people making a television show than we know are practically needed to make a television show, and that's great. That's going to go away at some point because the money is going to go away, but people will always try and create these. There are gatekeepers who create these artificial quality values, and everybody will kind of force people towards these studio type budgets, saying that that's more important than the authenticity and the personal connection, I think. And it will be really interesting to see how much we take away from that. But we've lived in this place where social media, vlogging, YouTube has existed in parallel with this broadcast world for long enough that, I don't know, man, it just seems like it is just, as long as there's money there are going to be people having jobs to try and make everything professionalized.
Well, I think
it's interesting you say that, Rupert, because I kind of feel that way too, to a certain degree. Even back when we were talking about, you know, fighting the system and changing the system. Yeah, you're right. The gatekeepers have a vested interest into it. What I find more fascinating, though, is like, again, what other people have said in this conversation was that there is something. They're trying to create authenticity and connection, you know, for millions, and that's really kind of hard to do. I mean, intimacy and relations and connection can only be done really on a small scale. I mean, you have those different communities, you have that kind of stuff. And so it is, I still think there's always going to be that, but I hope, my hope is, and my belief is that it can still inspire that and be great and stuff. But on the flip side of it, like I work for a nonprofit, we help people get out of poverty. And this whole pandemic has really shown me how much of a digital divide that there is in this country, from the middle class down to people in poverty. I mean, what we're doing right now, most of the people that I work with can't do. One, they don't have the skills, and two, they don't have access to the technology. They know how to get it, they know where it's at, but they have to go to the library, they have to go to where we're at. It's not in their homes. And it is a huge digital divide, and it actually makes me sad, because I think there's going to be a lot of nonprofits that, and a lot of people are going to be hurt by this. Those that are the most vulnerable are still going to be hurt by it more so, and that's sad.
Hey, Rupert, I don't know if this is happening in the UK or not, but here, like, all television production has basically become video blogging. If you watch The View, which is a big daytime chat show, it's basically a Zoom meeting, you know. Bill Maher's doing all his interviews from his house in his backyard. He does his monologue in front of his cabana in his backyard, and it's hilarious. It's so funny. It's like the whole world has gone backwards production-wise in the last 2 weeks.
It has happened here too, and it is pretty amazing. Some really big launches of new shows, like Channel 4, one of our big 4 broadcasters here, has had its really big daytime show launch, and they had to sort of do it from the presenter's living room, and you know, all control from outside. But one of the things that's also amazing is just how painful, obviously, all the broadcast people find it transitioning to these smaller models, and the quality could be so much. I mean, you know, quality, whatever. I always tried to break down to the smallest possible camera, and so I quite like it. But it is funny imagining them struggling a lot with trying to figure out how to balance what they think are their standards with this new way of working. It's great. I love it.
I agree. And also to some degrees, like for Bill Maher, the lack of creativity that they're using in terms of the ways that they can be making that more engaging, both in terms of community activation and community engagement, and just like set up a set up 3 cameras, set up your frigging laptop and a, you know, whatever, and make, I mean, there's so many things that Bill Maher could be doing among other people to make it more engaging.
It kind of reminds me of like the early, especially like I remember certain internet award shows, things like that, where they would have like a Hollywood celebrity come in to be the MC, and how they would just like shit on the internet the whole time, like making fun of it. And how now it's sort of like the tables have turned. Will be like, okay, you guys think you're so great. Like, look what just a regular YouTuber can do. Like, can't you guys figure out a better solution than just like, you know, it's, I think in a lot of ways, like the Zoom meeting gag now, SNL did their thing, like whatever, like I'm sick of Zoom meeting content. I'm sick of all these ads where it's like, it's on a cell phone, we're all home. Like, I think there needs to be a transition where that allows us to fucking like forget about this thing and give us content that feels elevated enough so it's not just an excuse, you know, like you can plan things better.
I thought that the SNL, you know, because it was all of a sudden like you said, the playing field was totally leveled, and it was like, oh, wait a second, you're making videos just like the rest of the people on YouTube are, and theirs are actually better. So you clearly need the structure of the production, the writers, you know, like the whole thing in order to do your thing. But now you're all of a sudden competing in this platform where people who have been doing it for actually longer and are more experienced. So it's really interesting to see. I am curious. I want to hear from people who haven't talked much, and I want to know at least just what some of you are up to. Can we like just do like a round robin on people?
I've noticed that Bree has tried to talk a few times, so let's hear from him real quick, and then Steve, maybe you can just like call on people.
Okay, I call on Bree.
So I think one of the things you know, my trajectory in this is pretty dramatic. I started making videos for my classroom. I jumped over to making videos for Make Magazine, and I was moderately internet famous and recognized on the street in New York every day, and had this like DIY jam, and then ended up starting MakerBot, and then had to deal with journalists and all these people who are making media. And my previous technique of being super vulnerable, of being open, of being myself, all of a sudden that was sort of turned against me. And they would just, folks would find ways of like, oh, you're interesting, let's find a way to take you down. And I saw the sort of downside of the internet and sort of pop culture, and ended up like totally getting myself caught up. And there's a documentary made about me. I was super vulnerable, and they cut it up just to make me look bad, because it sold the documentary. So it was I went through a whole like extreme, like I want to share my whole life with everyone, to like having death threats and super weird internet people show up at my doorstep and expect things from me and all this sort of crazy shit. And so like, I think that, you know, one of the things that I really appreciate is how very little boundaries and how emotionally open we all were in the beginning. But then also, and it's so great I just feel so warm being with you all. And then I sort of realized that like I sort of had to really harden up and being out there in the world, and because it didn't work that way in the sort of bigger context of the sort of culture.
Instead of moderating like that, Bree, why don't the person who speaks pick the next person, and then it'll kind of go like that, Bree. So why don't you pick someone?
Great. I am going to pick Clark, because I have this memory of going and visiting him. It must have been like 2005 or 2006. We did a Naked Friday, went all over Williamsburg, and I had no idea what Williamsburg was at the time, didn't have tight enough pants for that kind of thing. And so I'm curious, Clark, where, like, when you go from like where you were making German videos in the early 2000s or 90s even, to now, I feel like in some ways you like, could you scratch your beard a little bit and sort of pontificate?
Well, Bree, thank you, and it's lovely to see you. I think of all the people here, Bree's actually the only one who ever stayed at my house in Brooklyn. So we had some good times. We did a Naked Friday in the MoMA, and among other things, had a lot of great adventures.
I get
But
more
yeah,
information on Naked Friday.
I started in online teaching or distance learning teaching in Denver over the TV, and was making all these videos. When I went to New York City in '99, I was doing online teaching, and teaching German to Colorado students. And that's what, so I'd been working with video for a long time, but mostly just, very low production value, like VHS, high 8 and so on, for my German class. And I could just like cut it anywhere. I was using like pause buttons to edit, basically. It was nothing fancy. And when this, video blogging came along, I thought, oh wow, this is really fun, this is exciting, and it was great to like meet so many cool people doing such cool stuff. But yeah, I was kind of in a place where, and I was also acting and doing music in New York at the time. Did a lot of commercials and some student films and such. And yeah, I got married in 2004, and then a couple of years later, like around 2006, I got back into higher education, and that's really where it's taken me to where I am now. So I've continued in higher education, back in the online learning realm, and now I'm an administrator. So I'm like an assistant dean of instructional design and technology at the University of Maryland in Baltimore for a graduate school in social work. And so I live in Baltimore. My wife actually is getting a master's in social work at my school right now and finishing up in May. We've got 2 kids, 13 and 10. And I'm doing a doctorate as well. So I'm actually doing a doctorate in business administration, writing my dissertation right now. It's systematic review, and primarily looking at things like remote working, telework, virtual teams, and so on. So I'm kind of like taking the virtual stuff I was doing and learning and doing it more toward working now, essentially. But it's funny. I think about, I've got a crate over here in my my little basement playroom here, and I've got my old digital 8 camera and my mini DV camera, just sort of sitting there collecting dust, these things that I used to use. So it's nice to think about. Sometimes I think, oh, I'll let my kids play with those eventually, but I got to wait till they're old enough so that when they go through my old tapes, then I won't be too crazy embarrassed, or I guess I'll still be embarrassed, but at least they'll be able to probably understand more. So anyway, so that's my little story. And I'm going to send it over to Jan, who I'm curious about. I'm assuming maybe still in New Jersey, still out there working on films and TV and all kinds of exciting things. So thanks, everybody.
No, it's all very boring at this point. I mean, I'm going to credit video blogging with the 2 Emmys back there, because that was the video conference thing was, I think, my giving back to my community around the world. And that was my reward for doing that. So I credit video blogging with the Emmys. And that basically, I got out of video blogging because I woke up one morning and I'm like, holy shit, I'm trying to do the arts. It's not making me any money. I got to make money because I'm getting older. So I applied myself, rode that Emmy wave to decided to become the highest paid mixer in New York City, and got there. Did a really nice thing with Catherine, the first live streamed TV show. But I'm done. I'm done. I hit that. I did my first network television show this past fall, mainly because Edie Falco, with whom I've been working since the Sopranos days, and I did her show, Nurse Jackie, and she got a new show for CBS. And I leveraged that to bring CBS's kit rate up so high people were astonished. They were paying like $450 a day. I said, no, $690. So I broke a big glass ceiling with them. But it was so hard. I had done so many years of not being able to get away to the bathroom or drink enough water. My body finally said, fuck you, I'm not supporting this anymore. And I retired out of that, got my first pension check this month. my official retirement date was April 1st, April Fool's Day. So that was kind of awesome. And while 99% of the people, the thousands of colleagues that I know around the world are now unemployed, I don't give a shit about any of it. So there it is. Fuck CBS. And I knew it was time to retire when I was sitting with the post-production supervisor. And as part of our luncheon conversation, I uttered the words fuck CBS. And I'm like, okay, no, I have no filters left. It's time for me to go. So that's it. Who's next? Let's see. I want to hear from Phil Clark up there in the hinterlands.
Hi, Jan. Can you hear me okay? That was awesome, Jan. I'm in St. John, New Brunswick on the east coast of Canada. My social skills are a little rusty because I've been in a shack in the woods for the past month with no internet. So it feels strange to use my voice right now to talk to people. But I've just been running around. I still make weird videos every day. And some of them I managed to squeeze out a little bit of bandwidth here and there and post them somewhere. But it's just really exciting to see a bunch of people I haven't seen in a long time. I think a couple of you have been to my house. Jan, you've been to my house before. The old shack in the middle of nowhere.
It's gorgeous up there. How are the beaver dam? That's what I missed.
Yeah, the beaver dam. Well, it fell apart and then they just built it again. Which I don't know. That's a metaphor for my life every day. Adam Quirk, I'm going to pass this over to you. Adam, I still have your pants from VloggerCon. You lent me some pants. I got my pants wet. I think I fell in the ocean or something. Anyway, I've been saving your pants, Adam. They're in pretty bad shape. But anytime you want to come up to New Brunswick and get your pants back, you just let me know, okay?
Does the postal service deliver there? Because we could do a mail exchange. I could get my pants from you and I can send you some liquor or something. Maybe that could work.
Oh, great. Sounds good. Send me some hand sanitizer too.
Okay. Although, I mean, as long as you're just not touching beavers, I guess you should be fine with no people around.
Oh no, I wanted to drink it.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm in Indiana. It's where I'm from, but I live, when I started doing the video blogging stuff I guess I started in 2004, and then I really started getting involved with all you guys in 2005. I was in Hoboken, and then I moved to Brooklyn, and that's where I met some of you folks. But yeah, I'm in Bloomington, Indiana now, and it's a nice little town. It's a college town, and about half of the population is students. So the infrastructure is built for, call it 80,000 people, and they canceled, classes. So there's only 40,000 of us here, and it's a very strange to walk around town with no one out. I started a distillery in I guess I left my job in 2013, and then I finally got it open in 2015. So I've been doing that for 7 years now. And yeah, we make liquor, sell it all over the place, sell it to distributors around the country. We do have, Justin was mentioning, we have distribution in California and New York and all over the place. And then, yeah, just recently, this past month, I've been making a lot of hand sanitizer, which is really just like higher proof vodka with some glycerin and other stuff added. So it's not that much different than what we do normally, but we're bottling it in like gallon jugs, like, the windshield wiper fluid jugs, packing those into 4-packs and sending out. I think we're doing about 20,000 gallons a week now, which is, mind blowing. But I think that's starting to peter out a little bit from what I've noticed. We've been getting calls from departments of health around the Midwest, and sending truckloads of stuff, but starting to get less of those calls. I think people are getting more secure in their sanitizer supply chain. So hopefully we'll get back to making booze soon. I mean, we are making booze also on the other bottling line. Yeah, that's about it for me. I was actually planning a trip to both the UK and Norway for June, and I had been talking to Rupert and Raymond, and I think I'd maybe messaged Trina too, but I don't know if that's going to happen. If it still happens, I can't wait to see you guys. But if not, we'll reschedule. So I'm going to pass to who hasn't spoken yet. Well, Chuck Olson just joined, so let's hear from Chuck Documentary.
Hey guys, now I have to be a nerd and say, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. It's good to see everyone. Yeah, I was watching for a while on YouTube on my phone, and finally got in front of a laptop. But I too feel warm, fuzzy, gooey feelings hearing from all of you and all of your experiences. Gosh, I guess from where to pick up exactly, but from video blogging and Minnesota stories and all that stuff kind of led me into journalism, and sort of had a crazy little career in journalism. Started the Uptake citizen journalism nonprofit, and had a lot of people with jailbroken iPhones live streaming from the Republican National Convention in St. Paul in 2008, and we got tear gassed, and that was very exciting. Then the recession, came and everything crashed, and that little nonprofit, lost all of its money, and I was kind of in the same boat as everybody, and ended up back in public television and worked on an art show called Minnesota Original that I helped start up, and that was a lot of fun and kind of like, phew, I got a job and have some stability for a while. Then I realized I'm really not good at having a job, and was yearning to do my own thing pretty quickly. So eventually I started a kind of a digital video agency called VidTiger, and we did all kinds of video, corporate video, nonprofit video, storytelling stuff. I started getting bored with video and got interested in video game software and started playing with that, which kind of led me to kind of totally jump tracks and got me interested in virtual reality. So that was probably around 2013, 14, I think, when I got interested in virtual reality. My greetings to my angel investors, Steve Garfield and Bree Pettis, who helped me launch a company called Visual, that's 5 years old now. We made a social media client for virtual reality in like early 2015, which was like nobody was asking for and was way too early to do anything like that. So we very quickly had to pivot into, guess what, video, 360 video. And I ran into Justin. I ran into you at South by Southwest, right?
Yeah.
So we made a VR app for Napster, and we filmed a bunch of bands down there at South by Southwest, and doing that sort of thing, basically doing kind of work for other companies. We ended up building a content management system for VR, and ended up releasing our own product called Wellness VR, that we sell into senior communities. So as you can imagine, we're kind of in the thick of this pandemic stuff. So we have a lot of customers that have, wellness VR headsets with all these relaxing experiences we filmed, like beaches and nature scenes and opera, and a lot of nature and culture and travel to relax them and engage them. Suddenly now, like those headsets are their only link to the world outside of those buildings, where they're now more isolated than ever. And we actually did a study that shows that wellness VR does reduce feelings or increases people socializing. Anyway, but we haven't been able to really work with them, because we're suddenly can't even step foot into those facilities. So we've been having to transition to doing everything remotely. And so, we've been doing some sales remotely, doing some training remotely. We're still sending out headsets to senior communities because they're still wanting it. And we're working on something new that's a social VR product. It's been really sad seeing these stories of people who are dying or people who are sick and can't see their families or their loved ones. So we've been working on a product that's intended for virtual meetings in VR, which suddenly is super relevant. But we're also thinking that we could adapt that product to connecting people who can't be together. So yeah, it's a weird time, but virtual reality has been, unfortunately, like people don't have headsets. So, and the supply chains are actually messed up because of the pandemic. So it's kind of complicated. Like there's never been a better time for VR as a way of connecting people. And like, there's no other way to go to Europe right now than to really do it in a VR headset or something like that. But at the same time, the people don't have the hardware. Keith, I appreciated what you said about, basically the haves and the have-nots, and, people without means to make ends meet aren't going to have a virtual reality headset. So it's really kind of like something that's more for people of privilege than I would like it to be. Anyway, but that's an update on me. I'm going to pass it on. Let's see, I'm going to look at the full schedule here. It was great to hear from you, Clark, and to see you a couple of years ago, or was it a year ago? Who haven't we heard from? Raymond. I shoot it over to you, Raymond.
All right, guys. So I started video blogging in 2004, very intensely. I went to New York 3 weeks after I figured out about video blogging, so that was fun. I did Vlog Europe 2005, September, met Jay and Ryan. That was really huge. And Jan as well, Amsterdam moments. It was really, really fun days. I was really enthusiastic about video blogging until 2007, where it sort of really went down, not downhill, but I focused on other things in life. And then 2009, I started working in the company I'm working for now, which is basically doing customer call center software. I am a solution architect and project manager. Been there for 10 years now, since 2009. In my spare time, I'm politically active here in Norway. I'm working for the government of Norway in my spare time as an expert in a national expert panel. And that's it. So I'm really interested in the technology on the one side and people on the other side, and how those interact with each other. So it's all related to my old interest, political video blogging. Like now I'm interested in the Yazidis in northern Iraq, who are living in a refugee camp. So there are 300,000 Yazidis who 2014, as you know, were slaughtered by Islamic State. They love living in a refugee camp. How are they living? How can they share their world with the world in a meaningful manner? So that's one of the projects I'll be doing this year, but that's part-time. So yeah, that's it. Have a kid, 9 years old, wife here in Oslo. And looking forward to see you, Adam. I want to hear from, let's see who's on this list now. I want to hear it from I guess Dina Kaplan, because we all know what you did back then, but what are you doing now, Dina?
Yeah, and I wish I had known where you were, because I've actually been living in Europe a lot the last few years. So I was supposed to be there all summer. We'll see if that happens. I'd love to see you. Let's see. So after Blip, actually, I don't even know if you guys know this, and probably not, but so my last 2 years, were actually really hard for me. The company was becoming more visible. But I don't know how else to put this. To be honest, I didn't know how to be myself in that role. I was one of very few women in tech, especially as a founder at the time. And I was just completely living in the should, like how I thought I needed to act, like I need to be really tough, I need to work all the time. And it's just like me not being myself did not scale as the company scaled. And what ended up happening is my body just revolted. And for my last 2 years of Blip, so this is 2000, oh my God, going back 2010, 2011, I actually had panic attacks really intensely. And I couldn't even cross the street by myself because I was so worried I was gonna have a panic attack and pass out in the middle of the street, and then like cars were going to start going. Anyway, it's very macabre. So yeah, I stopped being able to take the subway, stopped being able to walk anywhere by myself. And I didn't tell anyone, and I'm still like helping run the company, and I became the face of the company, and I'm running like these 7 departments. But basically one day I was across the street from our office, where some of you probably were at some point, and didn't even think I can make it to the other side. A 12-second walk, and I was like, you know what, I'm done. It's like my intuition spoke to me and said I need to live the opposite way. Like I was working nonstop, like live the opposite way in the opposite part of the world. So I left super suddenly and ended up taking a 2.5-year trip around the world, completely crisscrossed the world, and got really, really, really into meditation. I know, a total cliche, I get it, don't worry, I had a sense of humor about it. But I got really into it and went and did 2 pretty long silent retreats, and just had the inspiration that I was going to finally gain the confidence to be myself, and that my mission in life was to help people like us, people that get technology, that are contributing to the world, that wouldn't naturally be into meditation. This is way back in the day before it was as mainstream as it is now, and that I was meant to found a company in this, call it The Path, and help push meditation towards the mainstream. So that was like this huge kind of insight that came to me on a silent retreat. So I ended up going 2 more years studying all these different types of meditation, all these crazy ashrams all around the world, got super, super into it. And then when I felt like I was healed and ready to be myself, quirky, weird, whatever, and all, came back to the US, launched the company a month later. And that's what I do now. So I run this company called The Path. We cater a lot to people in tech, the world that I know, like people in tech and business and journalists and this and that, kind of our old world, from video blogging. And yeah, it's cool. And so basically my own path is, can I run a company again, but be myself and be more vulnerable, ask for help when I need it, take breaks when I need it, and still do an okay job running the company. So yes, anyway, so that is my update. I went from, running a company, which brought me panic attacks, to somehow running a company again, but hoping to do it. But I think I'll never get the panic attacks again. And just trying to have the confidence to be myself every day. Sorry, that was probably more than you wanted. That was super vulnerable. I apologize.
That was amazing.
Too much, but it's really, really, really good. Thank you. Okay, thanks. It's really great to see everyone. In fact, as I think about it, I don't know if I ever thought about this consciously, but that video blogging world really was a community where we all just wanted to help each other. Our whole motto at Blip even was like following that video blogging list, like with like a hawk, and just seeing what people needed and trying to build it, like trying to be of service and really being in community. And that's what my company is now. It's a community, it's a community of meditators, and it's just always like, what can we do for you? How can we support you? Especially now, I guess we're in one of the few growing industries like liquor and meditation right now, right? So it's definitely a good time for what we're doing, and it's just trying to think like, how can we help people? There's a lot of mental health issues that are coming up, and even people that don't have deep mental health issues, like I think everyone feels stressed and a little anxious and very aware of the uncertainty that we're living in. So just trying to figure out like, how can we be of service? How can we help people? So anyway, that is that. I will pass it over to the man who was really my first friend in this world, who I still love, Mr. Steve Garfield.
Myself. That's so nice, Dina. I'll remember the first time we met, and I guess we just only knew each other online. And you were doing some kind of reporting from an event and needed maybe a cameraman. And I said I would help you, you know, just how it was. And we just were true friends right from the start. That was so good. And I feel so close to everyone too. Basically what I've been doing lately is I closed down my video company, which the last thing it was doing, funny enough, was live streaming. And I've been helping my mom. Some of you know Millie Garfield. You might know her from her blog, my mom's blog and her video blog, I Can't Open It. So she's 94 years old now.
I was going to ask, can she open things now?
No,
how is she opening things?
No, she's got, her arthritis is getting very bad, and she only buys plastic containers now because if she drops the glass once, they break on the floor. We have been doing some videos with her, but basically she's in a retirement community up on the North Shore of 1,500 people. It's all locked down right now. They can't go to dinner together. They don't have community events together. And so she's in her place. So I've been online with her a lot, gotten her onto some Zoom videos. We've done some together. It's really fun. The local news station interviewed us via Zoom. That's going to be on TV sometime. So she's really sharp and she's doing great. And a couple days ago, we did an Instacart order from her local supermarket, and I used LogMeIn to show her my screen, and we ordered it together. And so we're really totally connected online, although we can't see each other. And then I've also been babysitting for my niece's kids, now 5, 7, and 10. And Uncle Steve comes over and they want to do videos. And those kids just want to be YouTube stars. It's so funny. So we shoot videos, and Nolan, when he was 4, he's like, "Hey guys, welcome back to my channel." And at the end, he's like, "Smash that like button and subscribe." And he doesn't even know what he's talking about because he's never seen YouTube, but he watches so many that, you know, this is what it's at. And yeah, I'm also trying to get them to think creatively about doing videos and not copying everything they see on YouTube. And it's really tough, but they love making videos with Uncle Steve. So what I'm going to do, we have 10 minutes left. So we have a couple people we haven't heard from. I want to hear, where's Drew? Let's hear from you.
Hello. I will, for the first time in my life, keep it short. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm glad that we could get together like this. It's so great to see Bree. Like, my favorite story ever about technology, and I repeat it all the time, was at South by Southwest. I said to Bree, "What are you working on? What are you doing? What excites you?" And he looked at me with that very serious look and deadpan voice and said, "You know, when you're about to eat dinner and you need silverware, you'll be able to print it." And I looked at him like he was absolutely insane, because it was the most insane thing that I had ever heard, but I believed him, and he did it. So I repeat that story all the time. I'm like, this guy told me one time that it would be like iTunes and I could download a fork. Well, it happened. So that's one of my favorite stories. I've stayed in tech. I'm super loud on Twitter, and I had cancer twice, beat it twice. That's fine. I still talk to Shauna. I'm sitting on like 2 hours of a new episode of Scriggity that I haven't been able to edit. I didn't edit her for like 10 years. So we wrote a script. We have all this footage, and I just haven't been able to do it. So I think I'll be able to do it now that I've been able to see you guys and talk to you guys. So I'm inspired to do that. So she hasn't aged. I'm 135. So we'll see. I think the world needs some good news, and maybe we could get it going again. Who haven't we heard from? Chuck.
We already heard from Chuck.
Oh, we did. I was gone for that moment, so my apologies.
It was really good.
Great. I'm
It
sure
was so
it's
good,
epic.
Drew.
Damn. All right. Okay. Then I guess we'll just have to catch up on our own. Okay. So who else haven't we heard from?
Josh?
Which Josh?
And Rick.
Josh Wolf, have we heard from you much?
Not really, no. Let me catch you up on where my life has been since, let's see, the last we were in chat, I had just gotten out of federal prison. That was a decade and some change ago. I left San Francisco with the help of a bridge loan from Jan, actually, and was able to purchase 11 acres in the woods just outside Nevada City, which ironically is in California, and started a small eco-village project called Healing Our Mind Ecology. So we have 14 people currently living on the land. We have a house, a cottage, and then this whole pandemic struck, and one of our roommates got a DUI. I ended up with his dog, which is right here, till he gets out of jail. And it's all started to feel like, you know, some sort of crazy movie at this point, but it's so great to see all of you all and reconnect to that time that, as I was mentioning earlier, felt like a more innocent, more real, authentic connection on the internet, and sort of re-tap into that and really think about how we can bring, or how I can bring that forward into doing something here and whatnot. I had planned to sort of tell the video story of this project from the inception, but when you're the only one carrying all the responsibility, adding the responsibility of documentation just adds one too many things in the mix. So hopefully there'll be some videos soon from here. Our website is growinghome.life, and if once this is over, if anyone wants to take a trip out to the woods and hang out and see an eco village in development, come take a trip.
And Rick?
Oh, I guess I should unmute. That would make sense.
And Rick, how are you dealing with the inability to disco roller skate right now?
I know. I was going to mention roller skating, which is what I really got into. Actually, my father passed away in 2012. And I go every year to this. I used to go every year to this San Francisco Indie Fest. And they have a roller skating thing at the, they used to have it at the women's, before the festival, at the women's building off of Valencia Street. So I went there once, and I just remembered being 10 years old, and I just loved it. So it just became something I just totally went into, and then I was videoing it a lot, but yeah, there's a bunch of history before that too. But yeah, I really enjoy roller skating. I wish I was younger and could do all the tricks that people do now with rollerblades, jump the same as they do with on boards and like that. But it's really exhilarating. We do a 12-mile, almost 12-mile skate around the whole of San Francisco as a group of anywhere from 30 to 100 people every Friday before this happened. We did it like a few days before San Francisco got locked down, I think the 13th. And I was actually telling, we actually were being told to start the social distance at that point. And I was making sure I was social distancing because my mom is 88, and I'm pretty much the one who brings all the stuff to her. And she called me recently and asked if her cleaning lady can come over. And I said, no, not yet. Not until there's some therapies or something. But yeah, I'm still into video a lot. I was a film student, like I pointed earlier with my camera. And I don't know, looking to see what to do next. But that's in a nutshell my rambling about where I am. Let's see, how much time do we have left? Let's see who else there is.
6 minutes. Trying.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you choose. Yeah.
Trina.
Trina, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. So what have I been doing? Well, I finished the PhD eventually, which took quite a long time, turned into a book, which you may have seen. And then my life kind of grinded to a halt because my kidneys just decided to just die. So I was on dialysis for 4 years. And then in November, I had a kidney transplant. So that's kind of marked the last sort of 10 years of my life. I'm currently in isolation, completely isolated from the entire world. I haven't left my house for, I don't know, months and a half, maybe. So that's pretty crazy. I think what's been really interesting for me is listening to you guys tonight and hearing all the things that I was kind of thinking about when I was finishing the book. And it was a difficult task because I wrote it or finished it in sort of 2014, which was such a long time after it all ended. And I had to sort of think back and think about how people, and I did speak to a few people and asked how they felt. And I suppose what's really good for me is that all the things that you've said here tonight are things that I kind of wrote in my book, so I feel justified. So that's good. I think we're all talked a little bit about YouTube and Instagram and things like that. And I think what's really interesting now is that you're seeing a lot of the aesthetics that you guys were playing around with back in the day, repeating and coming back. We talked about Fallon doing things from his home, all these people doing stuff that they're not innovating, they're doing the kinds of things that you guys were all doing back then. And I think the intimacy is really interesting as well. I mean, Adam just brought his kids online and I feel like I know them. I've never met them. I haven't even met Adam. In fact, I haven't met anyone in the flesh, which is kind of shocking and horrible. And I wish I could, but I feel like I know you guys, even though we haven't met. And I think that is one of the things that's really difficult to write about from an academic perspective, because you're not meant to say, oh, I feel like I know these people, even though I haven't met them, because that's not rigorous enough or something along those lines. So I think that is the crux of what the video blogging community was and that has endured actually, and which is really, really interesting. Was there anything else I wanted to say? Yes, somebody mentioned about video blogs being lost and not being able to access it. And I think that's a huge, huge problem because most of the stuff that was produced in this period is lost. And that's a real shame. And I feel like there needs to be some kind of archive where these things are collected and curated and preserved, because I think it's such a gift. And it was such an early instantiation of the things that we now take completely for granted. So I think it would be really wonderful if there was some kind of structure in place, maybe a funding bid or something, where we could go back and try and create some kind of archive. I think that would be really, really great. I'll mute myself now. Oh, I'll pass on to Rupert. Go on, Rupert. Tell us what you've been doing.
Hello. Well, I had a bit of a chat earlier, so let me pass direct. Thank you. Let me pass. Very quick summary of what I'm doing after everything else. I'm now just about. I've just made an application and a platform for people to make interactive films, which is a kind of direct result of everything we were doing back then and what I was playing with, called Stornoway, and it's going to launch on May the 1st. And I'm doing it with Kate, who you remember from the videos, who is completely not from this background, and we're doing it in the kind of most human, organic way that we can try and launch a technology company. And it's really fun. But let me hand over to Duncan, because he has just arrived and we're just about to run out of time.
Oh, hi. Oh, I didn't realize it'd been going on for so long. This is wild. Look at all these faces I haven't seen for like a decade or so. I have actually met a lot of people in the flesh, actually, a long time ago. What's the format? Have you just been saying what you've been doing for the last 10 years really quickly? Yeah, okay. That was an amazing simultaneous nodding across the screen. That was quite beautiful. It was like a little choreographed thing. Yeah, so I kind of, I guess some people know, I sort of stopped making videos because the videos I was making, like all these sort of short, observational things with a bit of sad music, I started just making just the sad music and sending people out into the street with headphones on to get exactly the same experience. It would save me making the films. So I just, for the last sort of 10 years, I've been making people wander around with headphones on, trying to engage with the world in that way. And in recent years, I've been doing that around climate collapse. I've been working a lot with augmented audio things, like putting microphones on the outside of headphones and remixing people's environment so they can hear what it's going to be like when their city floods or burns. It's very cheery work I'm making. And I'm just about to finish a PhD in making that kind of stuff. And I just moved back to Bristol 2 years ago, and I've failed massively to catch up with Rupert. We have managed to sort of cross over a little bit at some talks, but I've been, that's what PhDs do to you. They sort of lock you in your room trying to finish that off, really. I can see Tree nodding, I know. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. This is kind of amazing. I see Josh has got children. There's like children coming in and out of the screen. So time has past. Yeah. When does the time finish on this? Soon. I'll stop talking now. That's me. I'll take questions.
Thank you everybody for coming here today. This has been just absolutely fabulous and amazing. And Zoom is quirky where they cut it off without a warning. So I think it's an hour and 30, and we're an hour and 30 and 53 seconds. So at any time, this could just
have a new blog called internet.rodeo. And it would be cool if we got more. We're trying to revive the old Evil Vlog feel of just like posting random crap. So email me if you want to be a part of that Tumblr. It's a Tumblr, of course.
What's the URL?
Internet.rodeo.
Who does not want to be part of that?
Yeah. Yeah. Cork@reconcilvage.com is still active. So you can email me there and I'll invite you to the blog.
Oh, can you put that in the chat? I didn't quite catch that email.
Yeah, I'll do it.
And yeah, I do feel like we should arrange some sort of like play date. I think Bree, you have a daughter, right, around the same age as like and Adam's kids. So somehow, if we want to work that out, it'd be fun. My daughter's on a Zoom call right over here, so
a Zoom play date, right?
Well, if you are coming to the UK, Adam, and if you're doing something, I'm not allowed to leave the house probably until there's a vaccine, but you know, if there is a vaccine, then I'll join.
That'd be great. Yeah. I'll email you if the whole thing still happens. Oh, also, I think that Chuck Olson is posting probably the funniest thing I read on the internet every day, which is his quarantine log. So follow Chuck on the social medias if you want to.
So good. It's so good.
Laughing.
Does that include pants status?
Kind of.
Oh, it's so good to see you all.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like we're missing Michael Verdi, Jay and Ryan, even
Yeah.
Marcus Sandy. You know, there's some key people. We need to do this again and try to
What
get them
happened?
involved.
Michael
Shlomo.
Verdi!
We need Shlomo in here.
Oh man.
I messaged him. I messaged him and he hasn't replied. So I messaged Chuck too. So, Chuck in here.
I just realised I lied earlier. I have met some video bloggers. I met Brittany Shoot and Anders Haugstrup Pedersen when I was in Copenhagen years ago.
Well, and if you guys haven't seen, Jay and Ryan do have like 3 Airbnbs that they run. They have a podcast about Airbnbs and a podcast about eBaying. As I think Bree said, he ordered a piece of art off eBay and it turns out it came from Jay and Ryan. So.
Bree, what happened?
So I collect a really obscure form of art that's early computer art made on plotters. And I make art on plotters. So I have an eBay search alert set up for this super obscure type of artwork. And nothing ever comes up. But this one piece came up and I'm like, okay, here's a piece. It's really, you know, they want a lot of money for it. I'll make an offer. Made an offer. It was accepted. They sent it out. So I paid $250 for an early piece of artwork. And then I got it. And it's like, hey, this is Ryan of Jane Ryan. You just bought this from us. And then on the back of it was the like garage sale sticker that they'd bought it for $25. So They've got a great hustle finding stuff where they're at in the middle of wherever they are and reselling it on eBay and living what sounds like a pretty awesome life.
And you can watch every week a video of what they sold, it seems, on Scavengers.
No way.
Wow.
Scavenger Life.
Apparently they went
Where
to
are they
Norway
living again?
Virginia, I think.
Virginia. Yeah, it is
Luray. Luray.
Does anyone know what Michael Verdi's up to?
I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, and he is the chief product designer at Mozilla for their, every time you use Firefox and you're using the search bar, the address bar, all of the stuff around that, which is like the whole commercial engine of Mozilla. He's the guy in charge of all of that, and he is still exactly the same, and seems very happy. And his kids have left home and are at college, like, you know, as if time continues to march on and everybody gets older.
My son is 24. I don't know if you guys remember him, but Ainsley is 24 now, or 23. Sorry, he'll be 24 this summer.
It's insane.
And he works with me. I started a video production business, and he works with me now. He's my second employee. I'm my first employee, but he's my second employee. Yeah, so it's been pretty interesting.
When I was starting out, one of my video blogs was about the time that Amy was born, and now she's 14, going to be 15, and this high.
Wow, I remember that.
She loves looking back at all of the old videos. She just is watching all of the millions and millions and millions of videos that I took and never posted. She just likes looking back at old pictures of her. It's great.
I'd like to make a suggestion on the Facebook group that we post some of our favorite videos of other people that inspired us at the time, just to sort of like, because we had to do a shit ton of work to make this stuff happen back in the day.
Yeah, man.
And it would be nice just to, I would love to, I'm going to point to some things that I like, and I just invite you all to point at some things that were strong for you.
There are some things made by people here that I think I'm pretty sure are not online anymore, and stuff by Jay and Ryan did a series on their trips to Cambodia and other places, and there was some amazing stuff there. It's just not, I don't think any of it's online anymore. I saved some of it at times because I downloaded some of those things. Some of that stuff was very formative to me in my brain. And Adam, I wondered about all of your Bullam Head stuff with the guy, all of the characters in different places with the, that stuff's kind of burned in my brain in various different ways. Is that anywhere?
No, I don't think so. A couple of years ago, I tried to revive it. There's definitely stuff on archive.org, but all the blip stuff got taken down. So I think I have the media somewhere. I just haven't posted it. So
one of my favorites is the carp contest and all the other contests.
Carp caviar.
Yeah, carp caviar from the guy from Norway. I forget his name now. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And maybe some cool.
I think the idea of people posting videos that they remember of others from that time period is a great idea, but it's impractical. But what people might be able to do is post some of their own videos that they can dig up on hard drives, because so much of it isn't online, which might be a lot easier to do. And maybe you'll see one of those videos that is your favorite video from someone else. I just don't know what sort of archives exist of that era.
Not enough.
Yeah, I just backed up all my hard drives, and about a third of them just did not boot. But
really,
I found a bunch of that stuff and did a little memory lane stuff.
I did rescue a number from Blip before they closed down and upload them to YouTube, and then I was really thankful for the archive.org cross-posting. I found some of that stuff. I actually had some, I realized, hosted on dl.com.org, and so I think those are gone now, Raymond.
I'm going to say goodbye to YouTube. So let's all wave and say goodbye to the YouTube live recording.
Bye, YouTube.